Hello everyone. I recently discovered one more micro niche which has a excellent potential, and also I observed that there are a lot of keywords with relatively low competition, and also I was lucky to find a reference site. So let's get started with the details. The micro niche that I am going to discuss today is about locks. So this is another interesting part about this particular micro niche is this particular micro niche cuts across multiple niche segments, in the sense it is not limited to one specific industry segment. That means locks are used at home for homes, and locks are also used for commercial spaces. These are also used for automobiles and the various other segments. That's why this is actually one of the attractive micro niche, and will have huge opportunity to write as many articles as you wish, as you do more and more quality research. So let's look into the data points as we normally do for most of micro niche analysis. These are the 5 factors that we verify, at least I verify before actually picking up any of the micro niche. The very first factor is the difficulty or competition. Let's look into that particular aspect. So if you see here, there are almost nearly 400k keywords are there with this particular keyword locks. But what we normally look for is when we evaluate this particular factor, we shortlist or we filter the keywords with the difficulty less than 20. Then we will see if there are enough keywords with that particular with the competition less than or equal to 20. If you see here, there are nearly 11k keywords are there with the difficulty less than or equal to 20 keyword difficulty. So if you are not very familiar with these SEO terms, KD stands for keyword difficulty. Lesser is always better. For a new niche website, I always suggest go with the lowest keyword difficulty keywords, probably starting with 0. Not while doing the analysis, I put this kind of a filter. Okay, if you see here, there are nearly 11k keywords. That means there are enough keywords related to this particular micro niche that are having the less competition, or in other words, low difficult, comparatively not so difficult to rank. That means the first factor is true for this particular micro niche. So let's look at the second factor. That's the search volume. Do these keywords have enough search volume? That's what we want to verify, because if nobody is searching for this particular keyword, then it is doesn't make much sense to really go and attack this particular micro niche. If you look at here, almost the starting from the first keyword onwards, though difficulty is less, just 6, and the volumes are 48k. So you can see this label, the volume stands for search volume, is nothing but number of times this particular keyword is searched online per month on an average. That's what it says. Typically my way of analyzing this is on the first first page of these particular results. If I see most of the keywords are having a search volume of 1000 or above, around 1000 or above, then I consider that as a very good search volume and a micro niche that is qualified to proceed with the further analysis. If you see here on the first page, almost the last keyword is having about a 2.2k search volume. It is significant, reasonably high. That means much better than what the minimum criteria that I normally look for, that's above 1000. And also look at the difficulties. Most of the keywords are having the difficulty in the single digit. Though we filtered for less than 20, you see almost more than 70% of keywords are having the difficulty less than 10. That's very good sign. So that means the second factor is also true. So almost most of the keywords are having an excellent search volume. Third one is the scope for content. What it means is when you pick a micro niche, you also want to see if it is sustainable for long term. That means you shouldn't get exhausted with the keywords after publishing for 30 or 50 posts. How I normally evaluate, at least this is all indicative numbers, and once you do manual analysis, you will be able to actually really find out which are all the low competition keywords and all that. But this will give you an indication if it is worth going for or not. So we already filtered for the keywords with competition less than 20. Now let's apply one more filter, search volume more than 500. Now let's apply and see how many keywords will appear. So typically what we are trying to see here is how many keywords are there with the competition less than 20 and search volume more than 500. If you see here, already you can see here more than 500 keywords are there. But normally when you are starting a new site, I don't actually really bother much about this volume. Even the search volume is 10 or 100 also I attack, but this gives some kind of a comfort if there are enough keywords with low competition and high search volumes. That only from that point of view we do this particular analysis. If you see here, with this particular combination filter, already you see 400 keyword. That means you should be able to easily find about 100 plus keywords from this set. Why I am saying 100 plus is there will be a lot of when you do manual analysis, there will be a lot of keywords which are not really low in competition, though technically those appear as low in competition, and also there will be some redundant or very closely related keywords and all that. If you filter all those things also, still you will be able to find about 100 plus. And if you actually take out, lower this particular filter, for example, if you go for only, let's say 100 search volume, and then typically in the when you start a new blog, you should actually attack even the lower search volumes if the competition is low. Now you see here there are more than 2000 keywords are there with competition less than 20 with the search volume more than 100. That's excellent sign. So that means you can proceed with this, but be careful, don't blindly pick all these keywords. So this is something that I observed with some of other bloggers. They just apply this filter, pick up these keywords, go and write the content, then later they are puzzled why those blogs are not ranking. Once you filter these things, once you take all this dump of all the keywords, please do a manual analysis to really see if these are really worth. Though technically every tool is different, please understand that every tool has a different approach to a different way to show these factors. I created a videos long back. There is about Android niche where I took some of the keywords and one by one practically I demonstrated how I shortlist manually which is really worth, which is really low competition or not. Please go and check out that video, follow that process. You will sure be able to identify some of the low competition keywords and should be able to rank well. And recently when I was identifying some of the keywords for my public case study, there are also about 4 keywords I already identified and wrote the content. Within 2 months of time, the blog articles are ranking on the first page. I have shown all that in those videos. Please go and check it out and follow that process. But this gives an indication if there are enough topics to write, if you pick this particular micro niche. Why I am saying is to see really blog become successful, you need to publish enough content. Just publishing 30-40 articles is not enough in these times. At least you should aim at least 100. More is always better, but minimum 100. So if you see a micro niche that has a potential or a scope to publish more than 100 articles, I would consider it as a qualified micro niche to pick up. So now the third validation is also true, because we already saw here more than 2000 keywords are there. If you do manual analysis also, I am very sure you will be easily able to find at least about 300-400 topics minimum to worth to make an attempt. So that means third validation is also true. And now let's go to the most interesting validation. Is there any site that's actually ranking well for this particular micro niche with low domain authority? While doing the analysis, I identified this particular site. This is basically ratedlogs.com. Let's go to Ahrefs and look at the data points related to this particular site. What I normally look for is there are several sites ranking for this micro niche and many micro niches, but I always look for the sites with low domain ranking or low domain authority still performing well. Then I consider basically that particular micro niche is successful. For example, if you see here this particular case study website, DR is 8. So if you are not familiar with this term, DR stands for domain rating, and this is a way of understanding how authoritative, how established this particular website is. If you look for the established websites like Google or Facebook or Microsoft, you will find that their domain rating is about 90s, above 90s or near 100. So that means if you are starting a new site tomorrow, the domain rating of the site would be 0. So when you are actually trying to analyze or comparing with another site, you should always look for the low domain rating. So if a low domain rating is site, low domain authority site or low DR site is ranking for any of the low competition keywords or any of the micro niche, that indicates that content has power more than basically the domain rating. That means even if you start a new site tomorrow, if you can produce a high quality content after doing a quality keyword research, there is a very high probability that you will be able to rank well on top, because this site is ranking with a DR8. You can't take the big site, you can't take big site as the comparison and then go ahead. That's why I always look for low DR sites. So if you see here, DR is just 8. And other parameter attributes or other data points I normally look for is how many keywords are ranking for this particular site. If you see here, 15 point, nearly 16k keywords, organic keywords. What it means is for this particular site, organically there are 16,000 plus keywords appearing on Google on search engines when somebody is searching. That's very good number. And how much traffic this particular site is attracting organically through all these keywords, about nearly 16.5k. So that is also a very good number. And finally, the most important thing is the value, traffic value, how it is about 10.5k. So all these attributes or data points looking attractive. So please make a note, these normally tools are, this won't be 100% accurate. I normally found that actuals are much higher than what is shown here in some of these tools. But however, even if you take this particular number, this looks very attractive. That means whatever the reference website we found, it is basically very good, looking very attractive. So it gives us the confidence that even if you start a new site on this particular micro niche by doing a quality research of keywords, then there is a very high probability to see some success. The final parameter is or final validation is, does this site has a very good earning potential. Now obviously we do all this, we create all these blogs or websites to make some money. So we also want to ensure that the micro niche has enough potential to make money. So if you see here this particular case study website that we just discussed, you can see here there is a label traffic value. Traffic value is about 10.5k. So let's not get into the definitions of the traffic value. What I normally advise is, it is very easy to at least generate a 10% of the traffic value shown here on these tools. If you can publish a quality articles, even if you are starting tomorrow or very soon. If you take even a 10% of this particular traffic value, it is about $1,050 per month. Right, so that's a attractive money. It will be much higher because I own now nearly 10 sites. When I compare what is the tool, what does the tool show for most of those sites and what I am earning, it is much more than 10%. Even if you take a very conservative approach of a 10%, even if you consider 10% of this, whatever shown here as the traffic value, it is $1,050, which is a decent earning per month. And if you work well and if you actually able to produce more quality content and more, if you write more articles, you can easily make much more than $1,050 as we just spoke. So that is another number I normally analyze. When I do analysis of most of my website, this is the parameter where it fails. Normally I have seen lot of websites with traffic about 20k 30k, but traffic value is just about $500, $1,000, $2,000, because the keywords for which that particular site is ranking is not really so commercial keywords. That's why I also consider that aspect. That's very important, because at the end of the day we want to make money from these micro niches. So if you attempt this particular site, there is it clearly shows that there is a very good scope, very good opportunity to make decent money. So that means the fifth validation is also true. So all validations are true. So that means this is a perfect micro niche if you want to get started, and doesn't overlap with YML. There is no money aspect, there is no health aspect. So you can very well go for it. And another very important thing is, this is not limited to one particular segment. It can overlap on the home, commercial office spaces and automobiles and all those different segments. So you will have huge opportunity to write to publish more articles if you start this particular micro niche. So that's all the details I just wanted to share with all of you. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comment section. Thanks.